Hey guys, and welcome to the stream. I've got a all-star cast with me today to talk about LAN Crowds and also caster bias in Rocket League Esports. So just going to intro everybody because I don't actually have their ats. I'm going to try and put the ats, so everybody's Twitter on the screen in just a second. But everybody knows middle top tbates, of course. We had to get an NA bias caster / analyst on here to get that very unique perspective, and no one better in the business for that. And then the contrast, of course, Stumpy in the bottom left. So hopefully they're going to have lots of interesting discussion, as they always do. We've also got Feer in the top right. I believe this is the first time that we've collaborated on my stream, but we've done other events in the past. Some people are like saying, I can't believe this is the first time these guys have collabed. We have actually collaborated, but not actually, I don't think on stream at the same time. So welcome to the stream. Feer was in the venue. He was actually in LA for the major, watching from the crowd, I believe, for both days, right?
Yeah.
And so was Trihouse, bottom right. So these guys, of course, both content creators in the scene. They were both in the crowd for both days. So they've got a different POV from casters, analysts, because when we're like headset on, plugged in, it's we're not really there in the same way. And also, finally, we've got Chicago, no face cam, because he is he's in LA right now with the family, right?
Correct.
And as you can hear, he's got a wonderful microphone for you guys as well.
Yep.
No Rise, unfortunately. Rise had to, he's got other stuff that he had to do last minute here, so we don't have Rise today. I've actually asked a couple of other EU pros if they're going to be, if they want to hop in, so we can get a different, one NA, one EU pro perspective and everything. We'll see, but we're going to get started now either way. So first of all, intro done. Everybody, welcome. How are your guys' days going?
Good. That was a great intro, Johnny.
Thank you.
That was solid. It was efficient. It was no stumbles as well. That was a solid 8, 9 out of 10. I love that.
Thank you.
Good.
So just Stumpy. Okay, cool.
No, it was pretty
mediocre.
solid. I was gonna say it wasn't as good as Stumpy's intro into the first ever crowd back in 2 years. Stumpy's a solid 9.8 out of 10. Johnny, I'll give you a 9.
I'll take a 9. I'll take a 9.
Yeah, that intro needed no editing. That was spot on. I would have screwed it up like 10 different times. So.
Honestly, whenever I'm recording, I need to edit so many times because I just mess it up. But doing it live, I find a lot more easy, actually. It just, no script. But okay, guys, what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about caster bias, crowd bias, any kind of bias. There's been a lot of talk about bias in Rocket League Esports recently. And the first thing I want to make clear to the viewers is that this isn't really so much a debate as it is just us sharing opinions and learning about different perspectives. Because I don't really think this is maybe you guys already disagree with me, but I don't really think this is a thing that has one right or wrong way to do things. It's more like a opinion type of thing. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, first of all, I wanted to ask Chicago, since he was actually a player at the most recent first LAN with the crowd in 2 years. Talk to us, Chicago. What's it like having that home crowd cheering for you, and everything related to that?
Honestly, I said it before, but when I was locked in the game, you don't really notice that much, but it's really nice. But the main thing I don't really, or I also say is I haven't played in front of an EU RLCS event, so every event I've played in NA has been either Vegas or New Jersey or LA. So I haven't had an actual EU RLCS. I've had EU DreamHacks and stuff like that, but I've heard those crowds are different, so I don't really know the compare, but it's just it definitely is very nice having NA on your side, but I also don't know if I hear the differences when I can't tell the differences when I'm playing on stage compared when EU scoring compared to when we're scoring, if we're playing queso. But I'd be curious if we made London, because I feel it'd be a whole new world compared to LA.
I think there's definitely... There's definitely a point on the NA team and Queso, the reaction when scoring happened, where firstly, I want to say about the crowd we had at the YouTube theatre, amazing, so good, everyone was so loud. I look back at some clips, and the stream, it didn't come through as good as it was, in the arena. Sometimes you get that at some places. Season 6 was similar, where the mics they're not doing their job, whatever, and the stream doesn't hear how good it is. There were times when I was sat next to people and I was at the front and I'd talk and then SSG would score or whatever, and then you literally could not hear the person next to you. It was incredible. And that wasn't even me in the middle, that was me at the front, and it was one of the best crowds I think we've had in terms of energy. It was so good.
Was anyone else at Season 5 London apart from Stumpy and myself?
Which
No.
one was that?
The season 5 one. You don't remember?
Where we're at? No, it probably wasn't. My
In
first was
London.
Jersey, so.
Oh, okay, that was the one with
no.
the legendary Justin goal, the iconic 0-second goal.
Justin! Yeah.
I do think that like it's going to be a big. Now that we know that we're going back to London, which by the way was the hardest secret in the world to keep, like knowing that, and then people sort of like saying, "Oh, I can't wait," maybe we're going to come back to Europe for the next one, whatever. Then we knowing it's London, that was horrific to know. I think. To your point, Chicago, I don't think you'll notice much difference, like in terms of support that you get, because I think a lot of people in London, especially because it is very like you'll have a lot of people flying over there. It's very central, which is quite nice, or at least like easy to get to anyway. You'll get a lot of people who are just supporting the Rocket League that is there, and you're not going to get people who are just there for one team. I think most of the time, I think we saw in LA, there were a lot of people that were there for SSG. There are a lot of people that were there and therefore. G2, which I love. I love those fan bases. They're so much fun. Like, there are a lot of people there that I signed NRG merch for, which was heartbreaking every single time.
Oh,
I did
man.
like to,
Yeah.
which I think Johnny, you told me off, or CJ told me off when I was signing people's NRG jerseys, and I'd write "Lost" next to NRG.
Oh, man, I can't believe you did that.
What?
That's so savage. I honestly couldn't believe this. Yeah, explain yourself.
It's funny because people were like really happy when they were coming up to like say hi, and I told them, I was like, "Hey, I'm just writing
This
Lost
guy.
next to NRG." They always laughed. It was great. They had a good time. They enjoyed it probably.
Probably.
Probably. Although they were too polite to tell me off, but that's also fine. But yeah, I think in London you'll get a lot of people that are just there for the Rocket League. They won't really have a team that they support, which is quite fun. And it kind of means that everybody gets a bit of an equal shot. I'm annoyed they don't have Rise here for his perspective on the lack of cheering. But I guess Chicago, if you're saying that people aren't, that you don't really notice when you're on the stage, I don't imagine it affected them too much.
Well, I
Do you
say
think
that's
it's just you, Chicago, or is do you think it's just you, or is that like the?
No, I think it's probably
consensus?
just. I think it's like different for every player because like, I was talking to like Torment and he's gonna have a different perspective than me on my answer. But like the main idea from EU I've gotten or like that I've read is that like like a European crowd will be a lot more just in general like cheery just to have good Rocket League, where NA's more like, and I don't know if it's because like the sports culture or whatever, but it's a lot more based around the home teams and the teams you support. Like you just have a different energy for the team you want to win compared to, I think Europe would just be like the same energy throughout, just like we want good Rocket League type of thing.
What do you guys think is the reason for that? To stay on that topic for a bit, what do you think it is that makes NA crowds traditionally more, well, in Rocket League and sports, just traditionally more for their team, and in Europe just more for gameplay? What are you guys' thoughts?
I don't know. I would want to ask you guys. To me,
Yeah. It's inherent. It just makes sense to me. It's just the way it's supposed to be, in my opinion.
You go to your home team's arena, and like that was one of the things I thought about a lot because I've been talking to people about this in the days coming up to this, and the idea of everybody getting to play. I mean, this is the same thing in all sports, though. It's not like it's different in EU, I'm pretty sure, but you get to play in your home arena. You have your home crowd cheering for you, and then you have the same deal. Everybody gets their chance to play on their home field. But I don't know, it's a little bit different with a major and everybody coming together, and obviously it's a little bit less, it's not possible for all the fans to equally make it to each one.
In the US, at arenas, so do you, say in the UK, say Man City are playing, Chelsea or whatever, there are certain parts of the stadium that are for away fans, and only away fans can be there. Is that the same in the US as well? Mm-hmm. Okay. Because I didn't know if that was the kind of thing, but I know that with...
Wait. Not necessarily. There's like an idea. I don't think I've ever seen like tbates. Will you agree with that? Because I don't think that's true.
Oh, you're talking about for like a Lakers game?
For soccer, or football. Sorry,
For
they
football.
actually have a specific designated area where if I'm going to if I'm a Lakers fan, I'm going to a Celtics game. I could get any seat I want. There's not going to be like a dedicated Lakers area.
Wait, actually, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
That's crazy.
NBA games.
In the
that's
UK,
right.
you get like Chelsea or whatever that are playing away. They will have their section.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know. I'm not like crazy into football. Soccer,
no, me
like,
neither. Actually, I've not been to many football games in my life. I don't know. I've only been to like a couple of Scotland games and a couple of like club games. It's not like I used to be a much bigger fan when I was younger, but I was too young to go. And now that I'm older, I'm not really that much of a fan. But I do know that, especially in the city I'm in, you cannot put the fans together. They will actually just start killing each other. Like I'm not exaggerating. They will kill each other. So they have to separate them.
Which is also a super lame reason. Like, I hate the fact that people.
I despise
that they try and kill each other.
I despise the football fans in my city. I absolutely despise them. I don't want to go outside when either of them win a game against each other. Either team wins against the other. I don't want to go in town because they're just the worst people alive. Like, no, I don't want to go into too many details, but there's just public urination everywhere because people can't be bothered finding toilets. There's fights. There's people getting arrested. Like, that is just unfortunately the norm, and it's in multiple cities in the UK. So the culture for football in the UK is super toxic. It's really bad, actually. Really? So when I know a lot of people expect or think that the London and Rocket League, that crowd kind of atmosphere is purely like a replica of football, is so far away from what football actually is, because football is just the worst. Like, the crowds are actually just evil people.
Yeah,
well, they're not all, but there's a lot of evil people, and we don't want to make Rocket League like that at all.
But yeah, somebody said it in the Twitch chat, but it's actually the in college is where you'll see the away team has a designated place to go, because college fans are a little bit more on the insane side. Yeah, like you have to do that. And besides, it's like, they're used to going to their home stadium and having like their own spot and stuff. So, but yeah, in the pro scene, I think you're right, Chicago. I don't think that's how it works.
It's in both. I had to think about it. It's in both. Because
what are you talking about?
You can buy your ticket wherever you want to, and that doesn't matter for college or pro. But even I can't speak for Lakers. I've never been to a Lakers game. At a Pels game, you know how both teams come out of their specific.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
and above that, they're gonna have the general, like, say it's Lakers versus Pelicans in New Orleans. Above where the Lakers run out, it'll be the Lakers fans.
Well,
and everything else will be the Pels fan. But you can buy a ticket wherever.
Yeah, but that's not designated for like the other team's fans. Like, if I'm it's just like people are like, I want to see my team, so obviously I'm gonna go where they're gonna make their entrance. So like, why would I go to the other team's entrance? So it's just like a general consensus.
Like. Yeah. It's okay. Yeah, okay. So there is that distinction. Yeah,
they don't
because in college. Go ahead.
They don't check your fan card at the door or anything.
Yeah,
They check your body for any tattoos of either team to make sure that you're
I think like in Death Valley, there's a specific spot. Death Valley is Tiger Stadium. There's a specific spot for where Alabama fans go when they play, because it's not roped off for them. You can buy an LSU ticket and be a heckler, I guess, if you want to do that to yourself.
Do you have a death wish?
Yeah, there's a general spot where Bama fans go. So
I know that, when you're looking at places in like UK stadiums, they're normally literally like they're fenced off. So like the away team will be fenced off in their own area, and like to the like 15, 20 feet high, so then you can't throw like bottles of piss at each other like over the thing. And it's horrendous.
They're not even let out of the stadium at the same time or in the same door.
Yeah. Throwing bottles of piss.
That would be one of the less like lethal things, I guess. Like, honestly, the football fans and the football crowds are disgusting. There's always just disgusting people in there, and like they're not even scratching the surface. There's like rampant racism in like the football fan. Every fan base will be racist to their own players sometimes. It's absurd. So like when I see people, I've seen a lot of people, I don't know if you guys saw this, but a lot of people during the discussion online in reference to Rocket League, I've heard a lot of people say that it's inevitable that there will be bias, and it's inevitable that this and that for Rocket League crowds, because that's what happens in sports, and therefore there's nothing we can do to stop that. But I really hope that's not true, personally, because I see a lot of stuff in sports crowds that I never want to see at a Rocket League LAN. Like,
I really like that London, or the London crowd, has got the reputation it does, because it is the opposite of what the UK
so different
otherwise is known for in Europe. For like football crowds, if there are like England football fans, you guys know the whole like it's coming home, like we get really horrendous around World Cup. like time and Euros and whatever. So then to actually have London be a positive crowd is very nice, for once. But I do think that, like, one thing that did annoy me about the crowd in LA was I found at times it didn't have respect towards Queso when the least people could do was give a bit of like a clap to the team that is 15, 16, 17 years old walking out for their first LAN. A lot of people were quiet on that. And if you want to do that, fair enough. Like, I'm not going to say you're a person whatsoever. Like, you want to support your North American team, that's all fine. But I think the least you can do for a team walking out is even just give a bit of a half-ass clap. Like, and just make them feel welcome in a place. And then during the game, cheer away for your home team. Go crazy for SSG, because that's one of the best things. The SSG fans were some of the best people there. Like, they were fantastic. But then the respect has to be there as well. That's what annoyed me. And tbates, why do we disagree on this topic?
I mean, I don't know what the right way to do it is. You brought up the word respect. I think it's respectable that they don't just because then I saw on Reddit and everything people were complaining about booing, which I don't know. Booing is so ingrained to me that it's just hard for me not to. I don't know. You're all the way from Europe and you're in LA, baby. That is America. You know what I'm saying? So
I think if you're going to boo someone, be clever. Say something clever. Don't just say boo. Like
what? That is. Why does it have to be clever? Why does it have to be smart?
Because that's more fun.
Well, I think the problem, or what Stumpy's talking about, and I've seen that actually, a lot of people have brought that up. It's like a kind of an effort thing. If you're gonna like go and do that to a team, or like try and distract a team, or throw them off their game, because isn't that what the purpose of booing is, right? It's throwing a team off their game, or like trying to.
It works.
Yeah, maybe it does.
Dislike.
But yeah, to show you, it could be. Yeah, I heard booing mostly when like people broke like headlocks and stuff, in game. And it's like that's funny.
Super fun.
That's really funny. That's hilarious.
Yeah, that was
that's amazing.
But yeah,
that
people.
Was one of the loudest points when that broke and everyone just started booing was hilarious.
It probably was the loudest. I think the effort thing is definitely. I bet you all the people who are saying that, wow, that's that's lame that the crowd booed Queso. They would not have an issue if it was like in the same style as Land in season 5, and the crowd just came up with a really dumb chant about one of the Queso players and said that instead, because it has a similar effect. It like could throw them off their game or distract them, but it's kind of like creative effort's been put in, so if people are okay with it. It's not. I don't know. Booing's just, well, to me at least, it's boring. It doesn't. I know some people might find it exciting, but to me it's just boring. I'm like, oh come on, you can do better than that. It falls in the same category as like USA, and let's go team name chants for me. I'm like, come on, is this all we're gonna get?
Wait, sorry, wait. Are we actually
USA?
having people disagree with that? That's exciting to hear USA for the 90th time.
I don't. Well, the USA chants don't make sense when the team has a Canadian. But outside of that, if we want to chant USA, I mean, we can.
Funnily enough,
USA.
in London, you'll get USA chants for Canadians. I bet you if there's like a JNAPS interview in London, the crowd will chant USA. I guarantee it. Like that's the only time they're gonna do it. Again,
The best time.
They're all trolls.
The
Yeah,
best
they're all
time for a
trolls.
USA chant was at London when it was OCE versus EU. That was the best time for a USA chant because it was dumb. It made no sense. It was against what it's about,
I was hoping.
and it's great.
I was really hoping for it. Yeah.
It's so much funnier to do that. Also, Johnny, you're going to hate me for this. The chant, I believe we will win, is one of the greatest chants I've ever heard in my life. But it's used in the wrong way. So we spoke with tbates about this in the green room before,
we did, yeah.
Where the, I believe, we will win, right? The call and response. If you're saying that genuinely, and you're saying your team is up, I don't know what American football scores are, 49-30, whatever.
That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, sounds about right.
That's about right.
I've seen enough Super Bowl scores in my time. And your team is the one at 49, and they are winning, and you chant that, good God, you're boring. My God, that's dull. That is just, that's lame, because you're saying the thing so dead on, and it's like, well, yeah, obviously you believe you'll win. Like, of course you do, because you are. Like, yeah, fine, okay.
Nobody uses that chant then.
Huh? Say again?
Nobody uses that chant then. It's when, say it's game 7, G2 v Queso, and it's 0-0, 2 minutes left. then you start to and then the crowd goes and then we just keep going from there. That's hype, and it's 0-0, and we're saying we're gonna win. Y'all gonna lose.
That's where it's good.
That's better. That's better.
That's what
where it's good. Where like you're bringing your team up to then say,
teach us. Everybody help us out here. How does that work?
I've never heard that chant for a team that's winning. It's a team if you're losing.
Yeah.
Or like if you're like tied.
Yeah.
And it's really good, and like I think that chant's more for college and like high school. Like whenever I heard that chant, like high school basketball games with a good student section, that's when it's
so
good.
hype. It's so hype.
Yeah.
That chant is so cool when done right.
If you use it at a time where your team is not winning, then I really like it. I think that's a lot.
I don't think I've ever heard it when a team's like winning.
I swear. Okay, I have to defend Stumpy on this though, because I swear, maybe we just didn't understand. Because we had to talk about this. Me, tbates, Stumpy, and a bunch of the other casters. I swear, tbates, you did say that you're supposed to do it when you're winning, and we were like, "What? That doesn't make any sense." So I think you actually both agree, but we there was a misunderstanding, or like maybe tbates explained it badly.
It's likely that I explained it terribly. I had all the EU. I had YouTube plus Cole plus Gregan plus Shogun plus everybody's in there in my ears.
Panic. But it sounds like you actually agree though, so you're supposed to say it when you're losing or drawing.
You don't use it when you're already up 3-0 game 7. Like,
okay, that's good.
Congratulations.
Okay, so that does make sense then. So that's a good NA chant. We didn't hear that one in LA, did we?
We did. Well, it's hard to coordinate.
It's probably hard to coordinate,
in YouTube theater. It's hard to coordinate with that many people in the first place without having it on the big screen or signs or somebody having a microphone to lead.
Yeah, you need a head guy.
Yeah, you need something.
That's true. The crowd
in the arena, just going on that point of having like words or something. I don't know if viewers saw it because I've no idea what the stream saw, or even players.
No, they wouldn't have seen it. I think I know what you're saying.
Where at the top it said "make some noise" and it had like balcony, like the upper, lowers, left, right, 104, etc. And it had "make some noise" that section. People stuck to that, and that was so good. I love that. That was like a direction on the screen that I think would lead any arena. If that's in EU, people would do it. If that was in NA, we've seen people will do it. I adored that. Like for you guys in the crowd, like seeing that on the screen, I would immediately get hype. Like,
that's exactly what I was going to point out. They did definitely like try and get super loud every time it said in the screen section, whatever, make noise. Everybody was like, okay, we could do that. But speaking of other things that actually happened in the venue, so I said I don't know if how much tbates or Stumpy would have heard either, because when we've got our caster headsets on, it's kind of like what Chicago said, we can't really hear much of what's actually happening in the venue. It's all background noise. So maybe Trihouse and Fear, you could enlighten us, because there's a lot of people speculating in the chat and online of when did boos actually happen. And I actually went back and watched the stream, and as far as I can hear, you guys might be able to give a better explanation since you're there live. I heard definite boos when Queso did their walkout. However, I think that might have been on whoever did the interview with Rise. Whoever asked him questions might have accidentally instigated that, because they asked him a question that led to Rise saying sorry to the crowd, we're gonna have to beat your boys or something like that, which the crowd was like, boo.
It was something like that. There was a little bit of a lead in.
Yeah, so that wasn't really like the crowd just randomly booing Queso, which I've heard people saying. It looked like the question led Rise to say something that the crowd booed, which is totally different in my opinion.
I think there wasn't that much booing, period. I mean, I know we talked about, I've seen a bunch of people talking about booing. I was in section 102. I don't know where Trihouse was for the majority of it, but I don't know if were they using the casters mics or mics right in front of the casters for like the crowd noise or something? I don't know if maybe 104 was.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know where they were.
Any mics in there? I know
I think they had mics everywhere.
They probably did, yeah.
Any mics behind casters, because like that's where I was resting my water, and I made sure not to get near any electrical equipment. So like there were no mics directly behind casters, at least. I
didn't even think about that. I probably nearly electrocuted people.
I don't remember hearing booing a whole lot, actually. I just remember like there was one definitive time where everybody was booing, but I actually do think Johnny was right that there was kind of like the question definitely instigated it, whether or not it was intentional. Yeah. And it is something that I think you have to be careful of if you're doing an interview piece like that, or if you're just like doing analyst desk segments. I'd noticed that the analyst desk could I'm not like trying to throw anyone under the bus, but I think one of the, I think it might have been the Queso G2 walkout, I believe Wavepunk said, if you want Queso to win, make some noise, which obviously nobody's going to make any noise because they don't want Queso to win. But if he had said something like,
if you want to see more bangers and clips from Queso make some noise, I think more people are likely to make some noise there. So again, it's not his fault at all, but that's just probably why people wouldn't make noise for Queso, because they're like, well, we don't want them to win, which is fair enough. So I think it might be the job of like the people making the content and the people on the desk who are actually interacting with the crowd to like do it in such a way that's more neutral than trying to make the crowd actually go head to head. I don't know.
I remember
maybe it's not.
It happened to Queso because throughout everywhere I was going, Team Queso was definitely like the crowd favorite, the people I was talking to. I think by far.
They definitely won the hearts of everybody with their interviews and their play and the story. Everybody loved them.
European team, I'll say.
Mm-hmm.
So I was surprised that there was like the amount of like, or the response I was getting from people online made it seem like that's so disrespectful. They're booing Team Queso, and I was like, it didn't seem that much to me at the time.
No, it definitely wasn't.
I
It
didn't think
definitely
so
wasn't.
either. I remember that one interview, and then I also remember a boo that I thought was great. Again, it was against. Everybody saw those guys dressed as cheese, the best guys in the world, like dancing around with their cheese.
They're pretty good. It's pretty good.
Their body painted.
There was one point with their body paint. There was so much dedication. There was one point where they were shown, I think during the grand finals, might have been the lower finals, whatever, but at some point towards the end of Sunday, those guys were shown and they were dancing, and the entire like arena was booing them, and they just danced harder. They were like, "Oh, this is great!" Like they absolutely loved it. They thrived in that, and I think that's one where it can go either way. Where the booing, I think, led to a really, really fun moment. Those cheesy guys just ran with it, and they were clearly there to have a good time. Or they could have been cheered, and you would have had the exact same result, where then that would have spurred them on, and then that would have still made a good moment. So I do think that from the comments I saw on Reddit, people massively overstated how much negative energy there was towards any of the teams that are on.
And where it came from. Tbates, what was your POV on that, especially as a desk member throughout the entire thing?
I still can't get over the booing thing because Reddit took it way too far. It really wasn't. I've been in very hostile, quote unquote, environments, so the little bit of booing was absolutely nothing. In my opinion. Now, in terms of booing, is there something inherently wrong if, say, obviously NRG is not going to get booed, but say say like Vitality's at Landon, Vitality's going to be crowd favorite, and then say V1 comes out and the whole entire, whatever that place is called, goes, boo, and it just erupts. But it's not a toxic boo. It's a, oh, you're the villain, quote unquote. We want to see Vitality win, boo. Is there something wrong with that?
I think it's situational.
Like, what's wrong with that?
I don't think it's wrong by default at all, but I think it would be weird if I would be like, what? Why are the crowd booing? If, let's say, Calm did an interview, or let's say, let me make it even more extreme. Imagine like Calm's dad does an interview before the game, and he's like, "Oh, I'm really just so proud of my son, and I hope that they enjoyed themselves out there, and good luck to both teams." And then the teams do their walkout, and everybody boos V1. I'd be like, "What are they doing? Like, come on, man, that just doesn't make any sense at all." But if it was Calm on the mic for the interview, and he says, "EU's trash, we're going to farm these idiots," and then he walks out and they get booed, that would make a lot more sense because he kind of asked for it. So I think it all depends. I think it really, really depends on what happens.
It's a conversation between the player/team and the crowd, where I think a lot of people equate it very often to sports, where you've got people who are 18 plus who are competing in these times and like in front of all these like people, and they're very prepared for it as well.
But they even ask for it.
What does age have to do with it, though?
I think experience and age has a massive thing to do with it. Because
if you're 15, you're literally a child. So, I mean, it's definitely different than doing a 20-year-old.
Bigger conversation. If you're going to have the tag professional player, that's part of being a professional. And you got to be able to deal with environments.
I don't know if it is, though. I don't know if it is. Like, that's not a given. Like, again, this is where the line is. What is going to happen? What are you expected to do? You're expected to get in the game, use your org decal, do media stuff, play the game, like all that. You're supposed to scrim. That's all expected, but like I don't think surviving like a crowd booing you after you said good luck to the other team is like to be expected. I don't know. I think that falls in the category of like what is going on here. Like, why is the crowd doing
I
that?
don't
I will
know.
say my comment is aimed at you're a standard 15-year-old who has not been riling up a crowd. If a person, if they're 15 or 60 and they are riling up the crowd and they're saying we're going to farm NA, we're going to farm EU, whichever one it was, then fair play. Like the context matters
Definitely.
in every single situation. That makes a lot of sense. But then I think in most situations where I've heard booing, I'd rather hear something more imaginative and just be a bit more exciting with it. A boo is a bit dull to me. Unless then you have literally everybody in there making
Why
a
are you
noise
stuck
against
on
it.
boos being dull?
I'm confused.
Just Trihouse.
Can be a boo.
Trihouse, are you going?
You feel it.
Are you going to London? Are you going to go in season or the next one?
Yes.
All right,
If
then
I have to sprout wings myself, I will fly
you might,
there.
yeah, you might
I'm-
understand why booing is dead to us after London. I think after you see
Oh, gosh.
what happens there, you might understand. It's just very like it's just what somebody said, not creative, and it's kind of like no effort and boring to us when we've had that superior.
It's so loud though. And what's that called? Big Arena, whatever in Dallas that they're going to for Worlds.
Dickies, baby.
And then there's however many people are up in there. I don't know the exact amount.
I think it's
I don't-
14,000.
Okay,
isn't it?
for 14,000. So if NRG
Yeah, that's gonna be cool.
is going up against BDS, and BDS walks out, and I hear like, because you're gonna have EU people there, it'll probably be the most amount of EU people you're gonna have for this world. So I'll say I'll give EU 3,000 people, 4,000 people.
Thank
But
you,
if
that's
you
really
have
generous of you.
10,000 people,
I'd take 4,000
going,
EU fans over 10k NA fans any day, just for the
Okay,
record.
okay, fine.
No,
fine.
I'm joking.
Okay. And you'll have your 4,000 EU cheering, but then the rest of the arena just goes loud, boom, and extra comes out. That's like, it's home field, baby.
But that's actually a good. Okay, I want everybody's opinion on that though. So tbates has presented something that could happen. Well, which would people prefer? Genuinely, what would you actually prefer? BDS NRG, where BDS walk out and get booed just because they're BDS, even though Extra's given like amazing interviews all week and BDS have been super respectful. Like, would you rather that, or would you rather like BDS walk out and the crowd's like, "Yep, good team, they've done well, fair enough. We're gonna make some noise for them." Then NRG come out and they're just way louder for NRG. I would much rather the second one, where both teams are getting respect.
No.
And-
I want the crowd to have that. I want BDS to know you're on NA soil. I want them to know that you're on hostile territory. I want.
But do you really? Do you really? Because I don't. I really don't
As an
personally.
NA fan, yes.
So as an NA fan as well, I talked to a bunch of people about the booing stuff, and specifically, my college basketball games are the games I go to the most. And I was totally against booing. When I was sitting in the crowd and people started booing, I was like, oh, come on, especially Queso too. I was like, it doesn't even make sense to me. Whereas, I thought back and I went to season 6 LAN as well with Dignitas, who are like the total champions of the world. And I feel like they're on top and they have experience. And I almost can't remember if they were booed or not. I don't know if you guys remember if they were booed much. But
Season 6, just to hop on that really quickly, we did we tried to get going the Imperial March. For
Dignitas. It didn't work, but
dig,
close.
dig, Dignitas. That's so much more fun than booing someone, just a heads up. But sorry, carry on.
But I mean, I almost feel like the negative energy towards them would have been more appropriate because they're kind of like the dominant players, whereas I just saw Queso and I just couldn't imagine trying to boo them. But like I was saying, my people I've talked to about it, in the US and stuff, are saying, don't you boo all the time at those college basketball games? Which I do, but to me, the premise behind that is kind of, we know that when our rival team comes in, they're going to get boos from us. We're going to be giving them a little bit of crap. We don't give them that much crap. But then also, next game, half the games in the season are going to be played at their stadium. They're going to boo us. And then when it comes to, like the Pac-12 tournament time for our college basketball, we're going to go to Vegas, which is supposed to be a neutral site. And now you can bring all your fans. And I see the major more as like that tournament level at like Vegas, where it should be so more fair, and it's just not going to be able to because we're talking about crossing the whole world. Mm-hmm. But it's like, basically it's pretty clear that tbates and some of the NA perspectives is that this is a home like arena for everybody in North America, not just their favorite team, but every North American team is the home team. And then it seems like when it goes to EU, based on, I've never been to one, but based on listening to it, they're not being the home team. And it sounds like if you ask tbates, he's saying they should be the home team. They
I
should
feel like
just,
be loud.
Well,
Be loud.
honestly,
Like,
can you imagine? Bates, can you imagine? Also, before we forget, yeah, the Dignitas CEO did get booed during an interview. Not even a game getting played at season 6. The Dig interview, Dig CEO was just being interviewed in like in the middle of a desk segment. They're like, "Hey, how you doing? I hope you're enjoying your team's run here." And the crowd just went boo because he's the Dignitas CEO. I was like, "That's so dumb. Why are you doing that?"
That is absolutely one of the most pathetic moments I've ever seen at anything.
I was just like, "Come on, man!"
It was
The Dig
booing
CEO.
The Dignitas CEO when he is, but everything he was saying was about both regions, about Rocket League.
He was talking about Rocket League and how amazing an esport it is, and like why he's so glad to be here. And
T-Bates,
no, Bates, nah, bro.
You don't think that matters because he has at the time. Think contextually. At the time, they had Dignitas. We all know champions of the world, etc. They got beat at that LAN, but that hadn't happened yet, right? He was talking about Rocket League as a whole and was saying about how good Rocket League is, how the RLCS...
Yeah, it's like Rocket League's going to the moon, the esports fantastic, most watchable esport, and everybody's like, boo, you're the Dignitas CEO. Like,
and he
come on.
Booed,
I was like, what is going on?
Despised everything about that. If you're going to chant against it, chant something about Dignitas itself. Do the Imperial March, whatever. But booing is just so low through. It's just, ugh.
Yes, Bates.
Sorry,
I have respect for every single CEO. I see some of the Dignitas CEO's tweets. I don't know his name. I do see his tweets. His tweets are great. I really do. I don't know, he seems like a good man. And what you're saying was fantastic, but that's at the wrong place, wrong time.
Well, he exists the Dig CEO exists, therefore boo him. This is so. I don't like that.
No,
that's so dumb. That's what it was. He got introduced, so they booed him.
You have to think about the historical context behind the moment. Dignitas will win everything. That's the EU team. All NA people here is that Dignitas just gotta come to Vegas. They're gonna win again. It doesn't matter what we're gonna do. Nobody, we don't have a shot. So if you represent a Dignitas,
but what? No, Bates. Why are they booing him? What are they trying to do? You said that booing is to try and like get under a team's skin, distract them. This is the CEO. What are you gonna try to do? Your org sucks.
They're not supporting. They're not supporting.
What does it do though?
About this, Johnny. You're thinking there's a greater motive here, but it's just a storyline. It's good versus evil, and Dignitas was the evil guys there.
They were the evil.
I was like, that's cringe.
I agree.
Poor
They
guy.
were the bad guys. They were the villains. That's why they had.
No, but Turbo is the bad guy, not the CEO.
The whole team, the whole organization.
This guy talking about how good Rocket League is, now going, you.
You should have thought.
Should have thought about that before signing in a U team and existing.
Should have stayed with Rita. Shouldn't have went across the pond.
Oh man,
at that moment. That's all. It happened. It even happens in professional games, like Steve Ballmer for the Clippers, for example. He's always at Clippers games, and so when he shows up, he's there. The Clippers all get excited. I'm pretty sure Steve Ballmer and the Clippers in the playoffs, even if they were still in the crypto arena, which is lame, Staples. If they're still in Staples Center and it was Lakers versus Clippers, Western Conference Finals, if they pan the Steve Ballmer during like a game 6 and the Lakers have the home floor, they're booing. they're booing. This is Lakers, baby. We ain't trying to see nobody from the Clippers right now. It has nothing against Steve Ballmer.
But it sounds like it is though.
For my team.
But it doesn't do. I don't know. It doesn't do anything good for your team. It's just so pointless.
You need to drag someone else down.
But see, that's where I think y'all are taking it too far. It's not dragging him. And that's where I think Trihouse is trying to articulate. It's y'all are digging too deep into. I don't think.
But that's what we want to do, though. Like, we don't want to just say this happens in sports, therefore we have to do it in Rocket League. I'm trying to go like way above that because I look at sports in my country and I hate it. I hate the crowds. I hate how toxic they are. Hate the racism. I hate the way that they treat their own players, and I hate the way the fans like disrespect each other and completely destroy cities everywhere they go. All over Europe, it's the same.
Yeah,
and if that is what Rocket League happen, if Rocket League we're just gonna copy crowds and copy like sports, then I don't know if I want to do this anymore because like that sounds pretty bad. Like pretty bad industry to be involved in. So I don't like saying like, oh, this happens in sports, therefore we should do it in Rocket League, because that would be a bad formula to follow in Europe, a really, really bad one. And we've proven that it doesn't have to go like that. Like LAN in season 5 was so far, it was so different from a like other UK sports crowd, like really, really different.
Question for like tbates. It sounds like you would suggest that these tournaments need to be going back and forth between EU and NA, because if they're going to be home crowds and it's going to be home field advantage, like Worlds gets to be in North America. So I guess you're saying it for sure has to go to EU next like season. But it's crazy to me, like the Worlds, like the ultimate championship, one entire region is just going to get like, I mean, they're no matter what we say or do, they are going to get some home field advantage. But like to the point of like booing everybody on the other squads, I don't know. To me, it seems like, and I'm kind of bad about this because I want SSG to win so bad. There's no way any SSG team when they're playing like I'm gonna be cheering for just them, but I'm not gonna be booing for their opponent. But I don't know. It's just it's interesting to think of a major as a like I could understand Queso versus G2 in G2's arena. Like the context behind that is so obvious that everyone's gonna be cheering G2, and it seems like you're saying that context extends to the entirety of both regions.
When from and like I said, that's just me as a fan of sports and in general of competitors. I feel like it's also a psychological thing that you have to go through. I think that's also very prevalent in anything in life, and I also think having like the hero and the villain, it's always a good storyline to have. So if you're NRG's never gonna boo, they're too dang popular. But if you're a lower NA team, a 5th seed, and you're making it all the way there to the finals, and you're going against EU's hopes and dreams, and they boo you, it's out of like a boo out of like we're just not rooting for you, not a boo out of like a we hate you or something like that. That's taking it too far. But a boo out of just like it's a fun like we're gonna try to get in your head. Can you handle the whole entire arena being saying boos? Is that gonna mess you up on the game? I think that also plays a part in.
Oh, okay. I think I want to like ask Chicago something because I don't want to like assume anything. But from talking to some players, I feel like known players and talked to players about like events and crowds since season 1, and like no one seems to really care that much from the player POV. Like literally every take I've said pretty much in this stream so far is from a content perspective. Like you seem like you're very Bates and Trihouse at least seem like you're very focused on surviving like a crowd just being against you. Like that is a big deal for you, and that as part of an esport is a big deal. Honestly though, I don't really care at all about that. Like I'm thinking about making content. How do we make an event as good as possible? And I'm thinking LAN in season 5, if the crowd didn't make a ton of noise, like the most noise I've ever heard, I don't think I saw a single person sitting down for Justin's 0-second goal in London against a European team, and they just like scored a 0-second goal. The whole crowd stands up, makes some noise. I don't know if that would have happened in LA, and I can't, we can't know. No, I'm just saying though, like I think if the crowd, if we like set up, because we didn't like set up the crowd in season 5. And there was like Stumpy and Cole were really like running the show in 104. They like really, I think they cultivated an atmosphere of just fun, and it was peak content. It was so peak. And if like instead of doing that, if Stumpy and Cole were like, actually guys, we're just gonna boo every NA team because they're from NA. Let's just do that, and then cheer every EU team. And that was the vibe that everybody was learning, because everybody kind of learned the vibe that 104 were going for, and they got on board with it throughout the weekend. If they went for a totally different vibe, I think it would have been pretty dead. I think it would have actually like made it a worse product online. But like I said, I did want to ask Chicago because I don't know like if that's true. But as far as I'm aware, players don't really care that much about the crowd and we know who they're for and against. But was that the case in LA? Did anybody was anybody bothered by it?
I think maybe like Queso wasn't very happy. Like I think like Queso didn't bother them at all, but I don't think like they were like happy that they got booed or didn't get as much love for sure. But that's also just because they're really young. Like they're like, I don't want to be disliked. I want everyone to cheer for me. Like I want to give everyone like a good performance or whatever. But I think like for me, I would always want an experience where like I was the team that like I wanted to shut the crowd up. I wanted them to not like me, because I feel like if I went to every LAN and I was like every LAN of my career, yeah, it was all cheers. Like the crowd was all the same. It was just everyone's there, happy to be there. But like if I was like, there was one LAN where we won in game 7, and I've never heard an arena more quiet because they were like, we beat their team, that they paid tickets to see that team. Like I feel like that would be cooler than just like okay, every team get cheers. Let's go, have fun.
I'm not saying every team get equal cheers though. I'm saying like every team just gets respect, and if every LAN from here on is like, oh, the LANs in Europe, every NA team gets booed, that'll get really boring really fast, in my opinion. It'll get so old so quick, and vice versa in NA.
About what Chicago just said, I completely agree with what you just said, Chicago. Where contextually, if one person is wanting to be the bad guy, you know, they want to shut up the home crowd, they want to do this, they want to do X, Y, Z. Then that is such a good thing content-wise as well, Johnny, going by your argument. Very, very good content-wise. That's absolutely brilliant.
And they can instigate that like easily. It's been done before by like Turbo. Like you can definitely like just say something in a pre-match interview or a post-match interview to 100% get the crowd to do that and be against you.
Turbo walked out in season 6 wearing 3 medals and like pointed at the crowd, pointing at his medals, and like that instigates the hate. That makes people want to cheer against him, and that is so fun. If he walks out, I can't remember the audio on that clip, but if he walks out, he's pointing at his medals, and he gets booed, that is great. That is so good contextually because he's farmed that atmosphere. He's made that happen. I think that an argument that booing makes a really good atmosphere is pretty much not disproven, but a big argument against that is Season 5 did not have booing, and it is known to have the best atmosphere that RLCS has ever had.
By the way, with a smaller crowd as well. Like, see, the last crowd for LA was probably definitely like as loud as any other Rocket League crowd I've heard, and as passionate, probably the most passionate Rocket League fan base I've ever seen. Like, they were really, everybody in that venue was hardcore fans. But as far as entertainment goes, like the crowd being a product, a content piece, there's no way that you could compare anything to London Season 5. It's just, there were so many clips of the crowd being hilarious and literally being the content. And in LA, the crowd were super passionate, super loud, and really awesome people, but they're not actually entertaining per se. I think that's where me and Stumpy are coming from in this. We don't really have so much of a problem with the player POV, because I don't think the players care. Like Chicago was saying, he'd probably like it more, but I just think it's not as good of a product. I think it's kind of boring. So that's our whole angle on this.
I think if somebody comes up with a chant against Queso where they are chanting against them because of something they said on Twitter, some dumb take that a Queso player has had, I'm not saying they have, but if that has happened where they tweeted something that everybody disagreed with, and then somebody made a chant surrounding that. That's what you get in football in the UK all the time. If somebody gets arrested for drunk driving, for example, the next time they play, there will be a chant about them drunk driving. Like it will attack people, and like it's playing dirty, and it's that psychological aspect, tbates, that you were saying about, where it's so gets in somebody's head because you're like, oh, okay, they're against me. Either I'm going to prove them wrong, or I'm going to crumble under this pressure. To me, it all just comes back to that content thing Johnny was saying and the lack of imagination, where people booing is not as entertaining to me, as if somebody came up with a chant that just went against the very core of a person, because that's just funnier and better content.
Like, imagine some pro like slipped on their walkout, and then that became a chant. It would be hilarious. It would just be so funny if the crowd comes up with something that just happened. That actually happens all the time in UK crowds. It's hilarious. But I don't have any examples prepared. I probably should have done that. Actually, no, I shouldn't. I'll just get DMCA'd. Never mind. You can find it on YouTube. Just YouTube it, guys. Just go look up YouTube videos. But Chicago, you mentioned that you personally would prefer to be the guy who you want to be the guy to, shut up the home crowd, which would be pretty sick. I hope, like in London, I definitely hope you guys are there. I definitely hope that you give an interview that will instigate that, just for the record, because that would be really cool to see. But do you think that should be a default?
Chicago's getting booed.
Yeah, Chicago's getting...
You're getting so many boos.
But do you know what will happen, actually? Chicago will say in an interview, I want the crowd to boo me. I want them to all be against me. And Chicago's going to walk out of the crowd and be like, yeah! They're literally going to troll you. Like, you have to be ready for this. But do you think it should be a default, Chicago, that is the expected thing that will happen to all players? Because I know Trihouse and tbates have indicated that. They would like that to be like the expectation. But what do you think for just in general Rocket League pros, thinking about Rocket League pros who might only ever make one event ever? You know, they don't just
No,
get to
I
play
don't think it should
48
be the
games in a
default.
season.
I don't think it should be the default. Like, every LAN should not be like that. Maybe like there's a known LAN for that, but that's the tough thing. Like, if I want, like the thing I was talking about where there's an event where like I want to shut the crowd up, then it's like, how do you make just one event like that where, and not every event like that? Because, you know, I'm saying like that we should boo and you should shut the crowd up if you're like from EU and you're on NA soil and vice versa. But then that eventually it's just every crowd's gonna be like that. It's not gonna be as fun. Maybe if there was like that one event, because like the only really esport I know is like CS:GO, and they have major LANs every year in the same spots, like Katowice, Cologne, right? So maybe if there was like that one spot in RLCS, like every year we had that spot, it would be like that LAN's known for that kind of environment. But I don't think like every LAN being like that would be very fun.
I think the format of RLCS suffers with the home and away, I guess the 2 home crowds and the away crowds, because we've got 3 majors and then the World. It's not like an even split between the two. Like Fear, you were saying about the home and away college basketball games. You've got the neutral, the home, and the away. You can't have that in the RLCS just because of how the format works.
And there's dozens, right? You said there's loads. There's like several at each. So even if you're playing away, well, you know you're playing home next week, and then you've got another like dozen or 2 dozen.
Same
like,
in the UK. Like teams will play home and away twice per season, or once each per season.
Yeah, Rocket League's only like once. Well, it's only like a couple times a year now in each region, and that's, you know, not even talking about the other regions. If we have like a major somewhere else, then suddenly you're looking at maybe 1 in NA per year, 1 in Europe in a year. And some teams, especially these days with how brutal it's getting to qualify, like what if you just make 1 and it happens to be an away major? You're like, well, that sucked. That was it. That was the one LAN that you're going to go to. It's very feasible that, you know, it's very possible that some player in LA just played their first and last Rocket League LAN. Like, is that cutthroat these days to get into one of these? And like I said, I don't think the players really mind that much about the whole like booing and cheering angle, but I think like I would prefer if it wasn't like expected, if it wasn't just the done thing, if it was more like situational, like Chicago's saying.
I think that's what me and Trials were saying. For the most part, I think it will be just a consistent, like an EU team walks out, queso, you're gonna have to cheer, but a lot of people aren't gonna boom off rip. Like it has to that. It depends.
Well, it sounded like correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounded earlier when you were explaining it that it was kind of expected, or you thought it should be expected that you're on away soil, you're gonna get booed. Like that's what you were saying, right?
Like if the booing does happen, it should be expected. You're on away soil. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to happen off rip. Like that might mean that you've already done stuff. You've already instigated something yourself. You've already talked some noise, yada, yada, yada. You might have been doing things prior to coming on. And I can just bring like specific examples. Like for a grand final, I think booing is more than appropriate, especially when it's Worlds and you have NRG. If NRG's in the grand finals and you have one of the powerhouses, the EU on the other side, I think that is a perfect time, because then like VDS, you're here now, and like we're gonna let you have it, and it's out of a fun thing. I don't think necessarily. Rocket League is also different in terms of the fans. When you brought up the Justin thing, I think it gets loud. Maybe not. Maybe it doesn't get loud, but if people are still gonna cheer, still gonna hear that, because that's just a moment. And a lot of people are just there to really watch good Rocket League. They don't really have a side they're necessarily picking. It's just you just join the crowd, and you're in a crowd, so why not just join in a little bit of fun booing? I
do think that across the board we generally agree. It's just the methods by which people go to we disagree on. Like, we agree that there should be favourites, and there will be favourites because people have favourite teams, obviously. Like, we have our favourite teams as casters, as content creators, everything. We agree that someone will be the favourite in the crowd. We agree that there's going to be people that will not clap or applaud when the other team scores, and that's also, like, fine. I personally would clap and applaud, but, like, people aren't going to, and that's fine.
Well, if it's like a banger, you go, like, you know, out of, you know, respect,
give it the
and,
respect.
Like, fair play. Like, you see that in any sport where, like, the other team's star player will score a worldie, and then you look at the opposition fans like,
They're just
Fair
like,
enough.
yeah.
Fair enough. That's
Yeah,
a pretty
exactly.
good goal.
Yeah, like you're shaking your head, but you ain't gonna clap for him.
Like that, but that's kind of what we're after. I think that's
you're
what
not gonna clap for them, TV.
No, it's definitely not. I'm not clapping for
I,
that. Hello.
I would.
Why
I definitely
clap
would.
For that? If I'm rooting for the Pels back in 2015 when they're playing Steph and Steph hits the 3-pointer over Anthony Davis and everybody else in between, I'm be like, I'm gonna shake my head and be like, well, he's just that great. If I ain't clapping for his behind, no chance. No way.
So you wouldn't go.
No.
You'd be like, come on, I would.
That's just different ways of showing respect. I'm respect like he's great. I'm not gonna say like something outlandish. If you say he made it, but I'm respecting him like he's just great.
All right, another example then. So that's middle of the game. So I can see how you would want to not do that because you're still very invested in one team winning, and I've seen you're always very invested in one team winning. When we're watching like G2 BDS backstage, tbates is mauling the comeback, and I'm just laughing. I'm like, this is so good. After G2 went 2-0 up, I turned to tbates. I said, can you believe this is so crazy that we're going to game 5? I never would have expected that. And you were like, nope, not happening. You just didn't want it to happen. You didn't want to believe, didn't want to even entertain the fact that could happen. So I can see how you would think that. But what about like after a game, if your team's literally out, you're lost, like and the other team's like doing their post-match interview? Do you still think
like they have the medals and stuff?
No, literally like not the grand final. What about it's like semi-final or like lower final? For example, Queso beating Space Station at this event. In case they're doing a post-match interview, they still have to play G2 later in the day, and they've just come out of a nail-biter, and let's say Joyo scores like a quad reset goal for the win on 0 seconds in Game 7. It's just like best goal in Rock League history. Would you clap in his post-match interview?
No.
No?
Oh, for his post-match interview?
Yeah, post-match interview.
I may be heated. I might be heated at that point, because you just did the quadruple reset on my boy Arsenal. Why am I clapping
But what if
for you?
Joyo's like, these guys are insane, they're a great team, it's an honor to be here. Well, would you give him a clap? No disrespect.
Wait. When they talk about your boys, you're then like, yeah.
No. Hey, listen. It's to me, it's nothing but respect. I think it goes kind of what Chicago's saying. I think it's a respect thing when you know it from me. I think it's respectful to not say anything crazy out of the mind and just like be like, okay, you're here, you're balling. I gotta give you that. I tip my cap. I tip my beanie. Like I respect. Like you're balling. Like. And like, I might give a clap if he does a good interview. Like, congratulations, but you ain't gonna be G2 though.
Bandwagon from SSG.
and then
go be G2 though.
That's how I'm gonna roll with it. And like, but for you, Stumpy, and I think this is perfectly fine. I don't think there's a right or wrong for you,
Agreed.
Stumpy. You're saying that you're gonna clap, and that's okay, and that's your form of respect. And my form of respect is. Okay, I'm gonna nod my head and be like, "Damn, these dudes!" I'm like, "Hey, balling."
So
did you see
Arsenal
on my team kind of thing?
Did you see Arsenal after Queso knocked them out and the genuine smile on his face and the happiness that he had for Queso because they just won? Like when they went to the fist bump or shake hands after the match, Queso walked over. You have to go back and watch it if you didn't. If you guys didn't watch it already.
My hands were in my head. I probably saw nothing.
Go back and watch it because Arsenal, I don't know if he was in the chat earlier.
They're booing. He couldn't hear anything.
Well, I just wanted to give him props because it was one of the most impressive moments. Arsenal had a lot of moments throughout the event where he just showed us where he must qualify. They have to qualify for the next one. You just have to. Arsenal. SG better be there because he's just on the field but also off the field, just an incredible guy to have at these LANs, incredible team. But yeah, even in losing, he was not you always see some players in sports will do that. They don't want to shake hands. The opposition, they're
because they're bad sports.
Yeah, bad sports. So I'd say the crowd not giving applause or praise to a team who just beat their team. I'd say it's bad. It's similar kind of bad sportsmanship. You won't even shake their hand. You won't even give them their flowers just because they beat your team. Like, come on. Even your literal team are shaking their hands. Even the team you're supporting are saying, "Yo, good job."
The crowd is under no obligation to do that.
But they're the guys who just got eliminated. It means even more to them. Like, they should be the team who are they're the people in place who are the most upset. But bad sportsmanship from the crowd.
The fans, I'm not competing against you.
That's what I'm saying. Like, the crowd are bad. The crowd are being bad sports.
I owe Joyo nothing. I owe Joyo nothing if Joyo beats my team. Now, if Arsenal owes Joyo that respect, y'all just played a fair series. You get up, and you go take that young man's hand. because he just beat you. The crowd, I paid money to be here. If I want to cheer specifically for SSG and SSG only, that is my obligation. That is my money, and I used it to pay, and I want to root for SSG. I have no reason, and there's nothing that's going to, and no matter what anybody say, if I don't want to cheer for Queso, I'm not going to cheer for him. And that's just the bottom line.
I think when we say cheer, we don't necessarily mean to join in. Say it's a case of SSG, because that seems to be the most divisive
true.
one that we can think of. If you're an SSG fan, we don't necessarily mean you have to join in or you're obligated to join in with the Queso chants. I don't think you are. I don't think anybody, if you're a Queso fan and you don't want to join in with the chants, then you don't have to. That's okay. But I think we just see the respect being given in different ways, and
yes, I think that's
to different people and to different teams by different crowds. Where the crowd, there is no consequence for them if they don't cheer or if they don't, kindly applause rather, and just like, okay, fair play, you beat my team, clap, clap, clap. There's no issue if the crowd doesn't do that for them individually, because they'll just go home and they don't care. There's no consequence to that action, and that's fine. There shouldn't be, but then we just see not giving the respect of the sport and giving the respect to the team that beat your team as disrespectful, whereas you just see that as, I'll be more silent.
Yeah, you view it as neutral. Yeah, you view it as neutral, but I'd consider that disrespectful if, like, there's a post-match interview and the guy says, like, shout out to this crowd, they're awesome, and the crowd doesn't clap. I'd be like, you guys are such losers if you don't clap there.
If he
like,
called out the crowd, you got to be like, all right.
You got to give him, like, we're with you on
imagine
that.
a North American crowd being told they're good, they're going to clap.
Hey.
Oh,
yes, we need the words of
would.
affirmation. Thank you.
Yeah, he likes me.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
But I would, in that specific example, I would find that to be majorly disrespectful. Because you call it the crowd's got to give you some flowers. But a nice little golf clap after Queso beats SSG, and then
Did you do a golf clap out of interest?
what was I doing at that point? I almost broke my ankle. Fun fact.
Wait, really?
I jumped when Slater was going for the bump.
Oh,
Let's go! And then I saved it, and I was on the steps. I'm like, oh, I got back.
Oh,
So I
man.
almost broke my ankle. But no, after they beat him, I was like, okay, good job. You beat them. But like I said, you ain't gonna beat G2. But I think and then after the tournament's over, whoever wins. So say in the hypothetical, we're at Dickies, and then BDS beats NRG. And then BDS do it. Everybody in the crowd, like at that point, we're all Rocket League fans. So at that point, you got to show BDS their flowers. Be like, yo, he's MVP. Clap it up for him. Like, we just got a great performance regardless. And that's where we bring it all in as fans and lovers of the game. That, yo, this is a great weekend. We love doing this type of stuff. But going into it, I don't know nothing. I don't know anything.
Yeah.
I don't think that would happen though.
Different.
Sorry, Trihouse, go on.
I also think it's different because Queso, which was a relatively unknown team until not an unknown
split.
team, but they didn't have the fan base
sure.
until like very recently. They went up against, I think, the two most vocal crowds back to back. Like they just went against SSG, which although I think SSG on online play is not one of the biggest teams in that arena, SSG's fans were nuts. Definitely, I think had
they
the
were the
biggest
loudest
crowd.
Yeah, I think so.
And then to go straight in against G2 back to back, I mean, it would have been a different energy had they been going against another European team or like a big one like Dignitas or something. Like the energy would have been different. But to go back to back against two NA juggernauts in that stadium, I think just kind of set up them as the bad guys to be cheered against. Even though I do think they had a lot of fans in the audience. Like everybody was. After a lot of the people I knew after SSG was out, they were Chicago. They were rooting for Queso. I was rooting for G2. I'd like to put that out there.
One of my favorite moments from that crowd, by the way, was tbates said about the point where you jumped up when Arsenal was about to score. There was that bump coming in. There's a video that someone uploaded where I'm at the front with all the EU teams. And this entire series, we've had like the might of the SSG fans behind us, and they've been cheering everything, and we've been at the front, golf clapping. We're like, fair play, well done, Rettles, you scored another one. Yeah, good on you, right? and then it comes to that shot nearly going in. That is the moment where I lost my voice because the crowd behind went crazy. I thought they'd scored. I started clapping because I thought Arsenal had scored that. And then
We all
they
thought
didn't.
they scored.
Yeah, right? Like, and then Rise saves it. I jump up, turn around, and I shout at the North American crowd and cheer at them. Yeah.
Somebody got that on video, right? It's on.
Someone got that on video. It's
Twitter.
so funny because I definitely should not have done it.
No.
Been that vocal about it, but that's fun. I thought that was a lot of fun. I loved that there was in the back and forth between that crowd behind me and then like the pocket of knocked out EU teams basically that had been like not playing for 2 days at that point or whatever. Like that was a lot of fun. And I like that conversation as well, where it's cheering against each other when the unexpected happens. And I think everybody enjoyed that moment. To be fair, like I think that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was nuts.
Yeah.
So just to run down the list. Oh, sorry, Chicago. Go on.
Nah, I just like okay. So that kind of made me thinking. Like you said, like Riddle scored and you gave him a nice little golf clap, right? Like from a player's point of view, I would rather you just not clap at all. Like if I was the player and I scored, I would want you to be mad and like not make it. Like I would be like, no.
But what? Okay, what kind of
against my team?
What kind of goal though? Because if that late equalizer,
No, it's just like he's just like isn't the point like he's playing against my team and he's the enemy. I don't want him to win type of thing. Right. Like the goal doesn't really matter. It's
okay,
like,
let me give you an
they scored
example.
against-
Let me give you an example to see like with everybody's different takes on this. So Lionel Messi scores a bicycle kick in the Champions League final or the World Cup final to put his team up by 1 with like 5 minutes to go. Obviously, the other team is going to be absolutely devastated. But then, like when the replay comes up of the goal, like everybody's going to look and see on the big screen, see okay what exactly happened here, and they see the techers, they see the top bins. They're like, fair enough. You got to give a golf clap to Lionel Messi because he's the GOAT or one of the GOATs, and he just scored absolute world class goal to win the entire thing. Like that, I would golf clap if like a Rock League team who I want to lose in a grand final, like do something similar. They score one of the best goals I've ever seen against the team I want to win. I'd be like, fair play. That's a golf clap. But I don't think everybody here would.
I'll go first.
I
If the
love
United States of America,
teammates so much.
if the United States of America somehow, some way made a World Cup final.
Okay,
and
all
Lionel
right. Go ahead
Messi
and
scores
laugh.
in the 90th minute with a bicycle kick. I'm running out the stadium. He's not getting any of my flowers. I'm gone. I'm sorry. I'm out of there. I am not giving him any golf clap. I don't care how great it is. I will not be happy. And if I'm Messi should be happy that I'm not in there. I'm gone, man. That's right. Best I'm not in there. Oh my god. No way. If I'm a neutral, if it says like Argentina versus freaking Brazil or something like that, yeah, I'll be like, dang, that's a great shot, bro. That's crazy. But like, nah. And I'll accept that it's a really great shot, but I'm not. No way, I'm clapping for him. No chance.
Yeah, and the higher the stakes, the moment, the less likely I am going to clap for the other team. Now I remember like game 1 or game 2, somebody lands a double flip reset goal or something nuts. Like, yeah, I'll be like, all right, okay, all right, we get one back. That was all right. And then we go next. Like, but like if it's towards the end in like crucial moments, oh no. Like I said, at the end of the Queso series against SSG, my hands were just in my head.
Yeah, I kind of figured that this would be like the fact is still at the end of a game is probably going to divide a lot of people, and that's fine. I think that's totally fine. That's natural that there people would have differing reactions to that. But like, okay, what about like Lionel Messi does that and then he gets subbed off with like I don't know 8 minutes to go. He's walking off and he's thanking the crowd. At that point, the rival fans, are you going to boo him because he scored the goal against your team? You're going to boo Lionel Messi, or are you going to be like, you've had about 10 minutes or 15 minutes to digest what happened. The game's not over. You're still 1-0 down. You get a boo Lionel Messi right there just because you put your team down.
Screaming, get out!
What if he's injured? Let's make it even worse. What if he's
Messi
injured?
is like a legend.
Yeah, what if he's
around
injured?
The soccer community or football community as a whole, right? Like,
Yeah, of course.
Like that, and he's like, is he known for being wholesome? I don't follow football much. Like,
Yeah, as far as I know, I can't think of any controversy at all.
Like if it was like Garrett G or somebody, like somebody who's known as being like
equally legendary as Lionel Messi worldwide, yeah. Similar level. I agree.
Definitely similar. Then maybe I won't boo him. But I don't know.
I love it. I love that. So maybe
If he's injured, though, that's a different conversation.
Garrett G injures his thumb. He goes for like a wall dash, injures his thumb, and he's like, pause. And Musty's get subbed on. Garrett G's walking off with an ice pack, and he's been taken to the hospital. Like, would you boo him?
Yeah, you always
Get him out.
Okay.
No.
Okay, good. So I'm trying to find where the line is because I'm interested in this. There is clearly a line here somewhere that your mood changes, but we haven't found it exactly.
It's a respect for the players. If they're injured, they're the reason that I bought the ticket. I'm there to see a show, and if you get hurt in that show, I have to nobody wants to see anybody get hurt. Like that's just inhumane. You know what I'm saying? Like at that point, you'll
find people to get happy about that though. Like
there would be people.
There are very strange people.
I'm like,
what are you doing?
That's somebody's life and their job.
Yeah, no,
right
exactly.
there.
That's
You
their
can't be
career
like
that could potentially be impacted by the injury, and you're clapping just for your team because Messi hurt his ankle here or hurt his knee here. Oh, your team has a better chance of winning. Like, no, man, no.
Tell you what I'd love to see.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Bates. Sorry, are you finished with that?
I was gonna say if Messi got carded or something and he had to get taken out the game. I mean, hey, Messi, stop going for my man's ankles, man. You better slide tackle or something like that. Get out the game, man. The team's got a better chance of winning now. So it's just a little different. If he's okay perfectly physically after that, it's all fine. And going back real fast to when I said I'll run out, I'll be like, God dang it. When I'm running out in my head, I'm thinking, God dang it, that dang Messi. And like I'm acknowledging he's one of the greatest ever to play the game, and he's just beaten America. I'm not going to clap for him necessarily. I might come back. Maybe I'll come back in and watch the ceremony. Maybe.
Tell you what I'd actually really like to see, and people might think this is hypocritical, but I don't think it is because it's different, right? If a team walked out, say it's our fabled matchup, Queso versus SSG in London, imagine that, right? And Queso walk out, they get the cheers, they get the chants, whatever it is, they're sitting down. And then SSG walk out. What I'd love to see is everybody just silent. Not a single sound in the arena. Just the sound happening. Just like the music.
Won't happen. I'll be there. It ain't gonna happen. I'm gonna be loud. I'm gonna be so loud in that arena. Are you kidding me?
I think the silence / the general apathy is so much harder for me, very much not being a pro player and not ever doing a walkout, right? I think that of the general disinterest of, and you guys, is in my head. That's harder to come up against. That's harder to think. You know what? I'm gonna prove these guys wrong. They're booing me. I wanna go against them. I wanna make them regret they bought the ticket. Whatever. If you're just silent, I think that's an interesting way for a crowd to go, and I'd be intrigued to see if it was fun or if it was really lame. And you're like, actually that was boring and that was bad. So yeah, exactly. But I'd be really intrigued to hear how that would go for a crowd. But I don't know, Chicago.
Yeah, go on.
That's right. If you were walking out and there was the general. You've heard Queso getting cheered, Queso getting a big mention here, and G2, you guys walk out, and there's there's a few people clapping, say 20% of the arena clapping and cheering for you guys, and everyone else is just silent. Does that negatively impact you more or less than if everybody was booing against you with 20% cheering?
You're basically saying I'd rather have a silent crowd where it sounds kind of sad or a crowd that's booing me.
Yeah. Which one's?
I'd rather probably boo it. I feel like if I just heard it quiet, I'd be like, well,
it's eerie.
Maybe not quiet, but if it's like nobody's even paying attention, like on your walkout, for example, that would be more realistic.
I'd rather have booing.
Yeah,
like I'd rather be booed
rather you
than
kill me than
be quiet.
Be apathetic. Yeah,
because it's like, have you ever seen like there's those really awkward moments where like it's just like in gaming, like, and everyone hates it, but like there's just like really awkward things that happen where it's just like everyone like doesn't know what to do and they're just not cheering. That's what I would think. It'd be like, wait, it's just like this is gonna be put on like Twitch fails because everyone's just sitting there. So I'd rather have booing because then be like, okay, then like if I'm watching, like, okay, these guys are not the team to cheer for. These guys are the opposite of the home crowd. So, but if it was just quiet, I'd be like, well, this is fucking awkward.
Reed.
Boo, you have something to work against, right? Like you have something to fuel you. If it's apathy and disinterest, it's like, oh god.
I think it's a different psychological take on it, because somebody in the chat, which I totally forgot about, Reed, what happens if the crowd either just all say the LAN crowd, they either all just turn around when y'all come out, or they just have all newspapers.
That'd be cool.
That would be quite funny.
And then, because that's something we also do. I forgot all about that. That happens all the time in college, and that's just a different level. That's
just
another
ignore
type of
them?
psychological take.
It's
It's just like ignoring them, like
it's
not
adding
even
content.
there.
It's adding content and booing, basically.
So
I
would you
love
rather read that a team? Would you rather a crowd do that, or would you rather them boo? It's just like it depends. I think that depends on the person.
I would probably rather, like, if I walked out in London and Landon, or if I was a team and the entire crowd was back facing or had newspapers up, that'd be pretty funny. I would take that over booing. It's like it's the same idea, it's just funnier. So
Yeah,
it's
it's just
like
funnier.
Yeah.
And
So I would take that.
I think that's what I like, right? That goes back to like the very first argument that myself and Johnny were making, where you can be more imaginative in really getting in a team's head and really screwing them up. Equally, you might try it, and actually it's lame. And like we look back at the content, and it's like that really didn't work. That wasn't actually that fun, and it just looked terrible. And the esport looks bad now. But I think I'd rather try that and then just see how it goes, because that sounds hilarious and also devastating.
Now, Rock League, imagine like every event, Rock League, just the crowd are just coming up with the dumbest, like trolliest chants of all time. Like, can we, would you guys all agree that would be superior to booing? Like, if every team is just getting silly chants against them instead? Like, I think the booing, I think situational, yes. Like, if some person like Chicago's instigating it in his pre-match or post-match interview, or like, you know, there's I don't know, something else that happens. Obviously, you know, it makes sense. But as a like default, like what's expected, I would be so much happier if it was just expected that Rocket League crowds are funny and that you don't want to miss the breaks because the crowd are going to be like doing something silly.
Yeah.
Then, or you don't want to miss the walkouts because who knows what the crowd are going to say. Then, oh, it's an EU team, they're obviously going to boo. Like every single time, five times in a day, all EU teams play, boo, boo, boo. I'll be like, oh, come on. What do you think? Like, could we agree on that? That it would be more interesting?
Competitive? Yeah, it would make it more interesting.
Because I think we actually agree on a lot more than, well, pretty much most things. There's like difference of like opinions or different. I think not even opinions. There's different levels of reactions, and I think that it mostly comes from tbates and trihouse being bigger fans of specific teams than myself, Stumpy, or Feer are. Like, I think trihouse is way bigger fan of SSG than I am of literally any team, and tbates is a bigger fan of G2 and by extension every other NA team than I am of any team. Like, I think when I've watched like multiple, like I was rooting for C9 in season 6, I was rooting for NRG season 8. I don't know, just wanted to see new winners, and I really didn't have a horse in the race this grand final for the past LAN, because I was like, oh well, it's a win-win. We either get to see the Miracle Queso run or Chicago JNAPs finally get that win that they've been, you know, trying to get for so many years. Like I think that explains the differences in like when I would, let's say, golf clap versus you guys. It's as simple as that.
You say that though. I'm just so intrigued. Stumpy, coming to you.
Hello.
Okay.
I think my camera's broken, by the way. I don't know why.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. You're in
Looking
the
good,
Matrix.
looking good.
I'm an avatar.
Nice.
Stumpy, if Endpoint are in the finals,
Don't make me dream, tbates.
if Endpoint were in the finals, and say JNF slotted on top left on your dome with at 0 seconds to win, are you clapping for
100%.
G2?
Genuinely.
Wow.
He would. He actually would.
Wow.
No,
I'm
he
not
would.
just saying that to prove my point, to go against you, whatever.
No, he would.
In that situation, I would 100% of the time. I wouldn't be up and raucous. Actually, to be fair, if it was like a game-winning goal, I would, a series-winning goal, I would stand up and I would clap. 100%. 100% of the time I'm doing that. Every single goal that G2 score in that imaginary situation where Endpoint get to an international grand finals, my God, that's exciting.
You actually would, though, because I've got, like, in Sweden, myself, Stumpy, and also James Bott and Dazarin, none of us were casting during Endpoint NRG, and Stumpy's a big Endpoint fan. Dazzer and JamesBot big NRG fans, and I'll tell you, JamesBot and Dazzerin were like way more upset at every Endpoint goal than Stumpy was about NRG goals. NRG was still a good goal, and Stumpy's just like, oh, fair play, that's a banger. Like, what a goal. We'd be like, mate, that was actually sick though. Look at that. Like, look at that replay. That was it. That was nice. Genuinely, those were the vibes from me and Stumpy and all the other EU guys.
That's like
During the NRG BDS Grand Final, where like all of my talk, finally, it was like going to be proven wrong or right, and and you can say to Daz about this because I was watching that game with Daz in the on the desk. Whenever NRG scored, I was clapping. I wasn't going like crazy. I wasn't up like, hey, that's amazing. But I was giving them a clap. They can't hear me. No one can hear me. I was keeping it quiet because about 15 feet away, Johnny's casting. Like, I'm not being loud, but like, it's a respect thing.
But I want to pause just briefly. A lot of people are saying right now it's a culture difference. I don't think I would say so, Stumpy. I really don't think it's a culture thing at all. I think at UK, the fans are even more savage, and they're even more like ridiculously for their team and against the other team to lengths that should never, ever, ever happen. So I don't think it's a culture thing at all. I think this is just the Rocket League culture. That's just the culture we've decided that we want to have. At least for us personally.
If anyone in chat is saying that like it's because like we're trying to be non-biased like on desk or whatever, first time I went to was season 2. And I was clapping for every single team there. In fairness, apart from Mocket. Apart from them, in fairness. But that was because of outside of Rocket League stuff. Every single LAN I've been to, 2, 5, 6, and 8, and obviously the other ones that like this season. I have clapped for every single team when they have scored in one way or another. Even if I don't like that team, if I don't like whatever about them, I will always clap in some regard. Even just quiet, a little honorary thing that no one can hear. That's the respect that I think players at that level should be given from my perspective. And Trihouse, I am so intrigued as to how anti my argument you are on this. Like, so you wouldn't clap. So your favorite team?
I'll try it.
Look at him.
But I don't know if I'm gonna like it.
Okay.
That's what I just decided for myself. I'll give it a try.
Doing it.
I'll give it a try.
But my thought is, so it's SSG that are against, I don't know, say Endpoint, let's keep up this dream, in the grand final. And Seiko scores the double flip reset, top corner. It's 0 seconds left. That wins them. Maybe it doesn't win them series. It wins them game 3 or whatever, right? You don't clap?
I could clap. I could. I could.
Okay.
I mean, if it was nuts, like, because I think it might be a copium thing, though, because I'm like, oh, that was just so good. No way SSG could have saved that.
Okay.
You know, it's like... Yeah.
Okay. That's also valid, by the way. Like, that's completely valid.
You know, it might be a copium thing.
Yeah, copium. Yeah.
But if it was the last game, and that happens, I think I'm just gonna be a sour sport. I'm just gonna, you know, just be devastated. I don't think I could clap, but I will try for you, Stumpy.
That means a lot, thank you. Well, tell you what, we can, at the next event that we're both at, let's watch it in the crowd together. That'd be nice.
That'd be fun. I honestly, I love it.
If I can't do it.
No, I love watching like big EU versus NA games with the First Touch guys because they're so like into it, and I just don't actually mind. I'm just having such a great time, and like, oh man, the tbates where we watched G2 BDS was like, he was losing his mind. He was absolutely losing it. He couldn't sit down. He's running around. I was just like enjoying it. I was having such a good time. I don't know. Have you seen this video, Chicago, of tbates like sprinting around when you guys were playing BDS? There was like 3 of, I think Rold has tweeted like 3 of them. Not sure. Maybe you won't be right back. We do have a face cam for Chicago, but yeah, definitely check it out on Twitter. It's very funny. I think when G2 won, he sprinted out of the. He just ran out of the studio. Just sprinted out of the studio.
Hey man, it was amazing. It's got a lot of combinations. There's a lot going into why I wanted to see G2 win. I think one part of it, I said it on the broadcast. I think one part I wanted to see G2 win so bad because Extra said no. It was SSG. It was SSG. I want to see SSG win so bad, mainly because 90% of the world called me stupid, and then also because Extra on the desk and he has tbates. So you got, and he said, and I said SSG over Dignitas. He said why? So it's just stuff like that makes it funny to me.
The Y is classy. Yeah, don't worry about the camera, Stumpy. It's actually frozen in a good kind of, I don't know.
I look so
you're making a great face.
It's a
bro.
good.
I'm really thinking.
It's
yeah.
a
Blue
very
Goblin
good freeze. Like that could have gone a lot worse. But okay, there was one other like thing I wanted to talk about in this stream. So we talked a lot about crowd bias and like what the pros actually think about it. But okay, caster bias is another topic that has been coming up, and I referenced it briefly earlier with just a couple of things like the what do you call it, the walkouts when teams are doing walkouts, the desk are talking. So that's like something that the desk I think of a big say in, and if it's a stage host I think would have a big say in like how that goes based on what they say. So what do you guys think casters and analysts should be doing? Because everybody's got their own personal favorites, but when it's like on the mic and it's time to like, let's start off with just introducing teams, walkouts, or like doing interviews and stuff, should there be any bias present there during interviews and like interacting with crowd moments?
During interviews, no. Yeah, like when I interviewed JDAPS, like inherently there might be some bias, but you're professional. It's your job.
You're doing a job.
You're doing a job. So in that specific moment in an interview, no, you're supposed to give them as much love as you possibly can. Even if you like, say if G2 lost to Furia and had to interview Mateus, I'm interviewing Mateus the same way I interviewed Naps. I'm gonna make sure that's their moment. They won. Yes.
Yeah.
That like no, you can't be biased there. I also don't think that casters can be biased.
Agreed.
I mean, like outright biased. Like if we're at a point where the cast is legitimately just crazily biased. Like we all know that Damar and James spot want energy to win, and it's very apparent. It's very apparent, and I think it adds something to the broadcast when they're casting those games a little bit. But they're like they'll still show the same amount of hype for NRG as for a queso or something the whole entire series. Now, when NRG wins, Damar might turn up a little bit. Might turn up a little bit for NRG at the end, but rather than, and it might be a little less for queso, but I think that's fine. And for the desk, I think the desk can do whatever the heck they want. I think the desk is separate. I think the desk is there to provide content and analysis. That's
okay. So the desk is the interesting one because the desk do lots of different things. They do predictions, which obviously I think full bias. Well, type 1 in chat if you think full bias during predictions is totally
prediction
fine.
is an inherent bias.
Yeah, I think it's like totally fine.
You're picking a team, yeah.
So I think it's like great in that context, and like also when the desk are just arguing about who's going to win and like discussing a matchup or like discussing the event, I think that the bias is totally fine there. But the desk is the one part that I think it has to like switch off if like suddenly there's a guest, because sometimes there's guests on the desk, like there will be a player on there, and everybody has to switch off their bias in that moment. Because the player is the center of attention. It's no longer about just making content and like having all of these back and forths and instigating arguments. It's now about the player. And in the same way, if like somebody's getting interviewed, whether it's live or pre-recorded, then the questions have to be asked. I think in the way that will not lead to not trying to make them say something they don't want to say. Like for example, Extra doesn't like trash talking, which is fine. Some other players do, but I would never ask Extra like a question that would try and like prod him towards talking trash. Whereas I think sometimes players who just don't want to talk trash get asked questions trying to make them talk trash, and I'm just like, I don't think that should happen personally. I think it should be like up to them how they want to talk, and the interviewer shouldn't try and force them in any particular way. So in that way, I'd say desk is actually the most difficult to get right, because you have to switch between like two very, very different moods. And it's very hard to do that.
You play a character when you get on desk. Like, you 100%, you will have your internal biases. My favorite team is Endpoint, right? But if SSG beat Endpoint and it comes back to the desk, I'm then not going to say SSG didn't deserve that. Endpoint, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Because that's unfair. I think no matter what you say on the desk, you have to be fair. If you are fair and you genuinely believe, and you're making a point and you genuinely believe what you are saying, I think you can say anything. If people disagree with it, that's completely fine. People disagree with people have been disagreeing with us all this stream. Like, that's fine. That's okay. But you need to be fair, and you need to make sure that you know what you are saying in that context as well. if a team's just come off a really hard loss and you're saying the other team won just because it was luck, that's pathetic. That's not something that an official person should do. That is not professional.
Correct.
When you're casting, I think that any bias that I have in that moment, again, endpoint versus SSG, I say that like I don't like SSG, I love SSG, but endpoint versus SSG, I'm not going to be more excited personally. As a caster, my voice won't reflect that I'm more excited that endpoint have won over SSG winning. As far as I'm aware, maybe I'm wrong with that, maybe people disagree, but you're used as a conduit between the audience and the game to explain what has gone on and to guide them through the entire experience, right? As long as you're fair and as long as you understand what you're saying, you just need to make sure that you are not putting anybody down to lift anybody else up, because that is something that is very easy to do. And in our esports, I think we're pretty excellent at that. I think people do have their biases.
Amazing.
Like,
it's like I think it's
so
tough. See the guys who do org stream. Well, org streams are often very biased, which is I used to do org streams. I did one for SSG and I did one for Oxygen. Done a couple of others. Did Sandrock 1 or 2 times, but I never ever wanted to personally go down the bias casting route, because I felt like I would be like training myself to react in a biased way. I'd be like, practicing something that I never actually want to do when I'm casting real matches. And well, org streams are real matches, but you know what I mean, like the non-biased way. So I always look at so many casters are like doing really biased casts. I'm like, man, I couldn't do that, because I would be so worried that this is going to slip into a real cast. Well, you're good though, because you don't have to do like an RLCS the next weekend and worry about like saying no, like a goal happens. You're like no. Like I've heard some casters do that where they accidentally say no when a goal happens, or they'll they'll have a very negative tone when they're hyping up a goal as if it's like the worst thing that has ever happened. Oh, what a goal by this team! I can't believe it. I'm like, oh no, they accidentally did their org cast there, but. Yeah, it's tough. It's hard for people who do bias casting and then have to switch it. I don't know how they do it. I don't even want to try personally.
I think those streams are so funny, for the record. Like my favorite.
They're great. I like them.
Stream, when I was doing Endpoint before for the first season of the Grid, me and Cole were so biased and it was outstanding because it was so much fun and
so funny.
Like the chat leans into it and you're all pushing for your team, and that is so much fun being in that little like. The one crowd microcosm wanting your team to succeed. One of my favorite org streams is the NRG one, because it's
they're so biased.
They're so ridiculous.
Doing 30 ad reads an hour. They are out there like just so pro NRG in every single way. And if another team scores against them, they're like, yeah, that was fine. Like, that was okay. So they're playing a character. Like they're hamming up their real emotions by 100%, and it's so much fun to watch. It's an entertainment product at the end of the day. People on desk are playing characters, casters are playing characters, and it comes down to how that person is perceived at any given moment. And
people think Stumpy and tbates hate. Like, there's actually a large quantity of people who think Stumpy and tbates genuinely hate each other just because they'll like argue on the desk. So many people after EU lose and it cuts back to the desk, and I'm already like head in hands like this when the camera comes onto us. People are like, "Wait, Johnny's like, oh, look how devastated he is." I'm like, they don't think the producer just said that we're on camera in 5, and I'm like, okay, right, hold on, I've got to like do this lightly so I don't smudge my makeup. Like, obviously, it's all planned. It's like. The desk is like in a good place right now,
and we all hang out. Like we've said it behind the scenes as well. Obviously, I'm very new to RLCS team, but in other esports, you've seen that there is a lot of animosity between certain casters, certain teams. There are a lot of people that don't like each other. There's a lot of competition, and they're constantly trying to outdo another caster or desk person or host to then get the next role. Thankfully, with Psyonix, we are in a very, very good position where we are so friendly with each other, and backstage we are
many
all
ways
laughing like in many ways. We're all laughing like between each other. We're showing each other like clips and comments on the subreddit saying this person said that they loved like that line you did, and like bringing each other up. And I think if people don't understand that we play characters in these moments, then I think they don't quite understand what the show is, and they need to figure out what it is that we are doing. So yeah,
I think you guys did a great job. I just wanted to say you guys doing a little bit of patting your own selves on the back, but I'll throw in there as well. I know I wasn't as part of the desk, but I feel like the desk was awesome, especially for the LAN. And I feel like it was one of the first times that watching the desk was like part of it. You guys were talking about the crowd being like part of the content, and it's like you want to hear what they're going to say. I feel like even more so than ever before, it was like, oh, I can't miss this segment. I got to be ready to go see what they say, especially being outside, to go see. I thought you guys did a really good job, and I thought there needs to be more of that. I mean, maybe there's fine tuning and stuff, but I think it was awesome to have a desk be so heavily part of the content. Like there's other desks in other big sports too that people kind of just know as the content itself, and I think Rocket League could definitely be that, and it was probably the closest to doing that, I would say, in this last LAN.
Oh,
I agree.
It was like the first thing you saw when you came in. Yeah, it was. I thought that was like so brilliantly planned. The way that integrated in with the entire show, it was nice.
The desk outside was almost too good. Like being out there was almost too good because when they wanted to do you guys remember the shot at the start of the first day during the pre-show where they wanted to do a shot of the YouTube theater, but it was empty because everybody was outside looking at the First Touch podcast or looking at the First Touch pre-show.
They did.
They kept on telling like Dazarin, who's hosting, they're like, Dazarin or Jim or Johan, our producer, is like, we got Dazer. Sorry to keep saying, you got to tell people to go inside. We can't do the YouTube theater shot yet because the place is literally empty. Everybody's outside because it was such an awesome like location to have the desk. Nobody was actually going in, so yeah, they wanted to do Stax's bit. We had to wait so long for people actually to go in there. And yeah, the tbates intro with the screaming was just too funny. It was and so was Rizzo's impression of that. It was really good. He did one at Korean barbecue on the last day. Definitely worth a watch.
He's ridiculous.
He's ridiculous. Yeah. I think like everybody. I want to give everybody a chance to their final thoughts on this general topic. So we've had today, but summary for anybody who tuned in is that actually LA was an awesome event. It was like absolutely top tier for Rocket League and
amazing for me.
Amazing for everybody involved as far as I'm aware, but especially tbates. And we all like. We did well. I wanted to do this stream because I just wanted to have a proper discussion about this because I've seen so many people arguing about the topic of like bias, and I think there's actually a lot more common ground than people realize. A lot more common ground, and I think that it's mostly down to personal preference and what we want Rocket League to be in the future. I know it's as far as like analyst desk stuff and anything that the actual talent team is involved in. It's always a work in progress. There's never we're never going to be happy with. We're never going to be fully satisfied with any job that we've done. It's always going to be like, okay, what could we do better? Could we do this better? We're constantly asking that. So that's always going to be the case. It's literally always going to be the case. But okay, that in mind, tbates is hungry. So do you want to go first? Do you have anything you want to say? Finish off this roundtable discussion on bias. Any confessions?
Any confessions? I do like seeing NA win. That T-Bate's confession was not a lie. I do like seeing NA win, but if EU wins, I am a fan of Rocket League above everything else, so I will give the EU teams their respect. I don't legitimately just walk around seething over the fact that EU teams are good and stuff like that. I think that's ridiculous. And also, someone in the chat said, was my neck okay? My neck was perfectly fine. They had the cord, and I was in the middle. So I was trying to make sure the cord wasn't shown on stream, and I had to turn weird. That's the only reason.
Oh, yeah, you were like turning like this, right? Because you didn't want
I was turning weird because I didn't want the cord to be shown. So so yeah.
We need to get you some duct tape. You can like tape it to the back.
Yeah, so then I can just like whip my head around. It was very hard being in the middle. That's all I want to say. Okay.
All right, Fear. Any closing thoughts here?
The first thing I want to say is what I just said a second ago, which I think is like the desk and the analyst squad is doing a great job, and I think they're on the right track. Unlike some comments that have been made about that going the wrong way, I think it's really good, and I definitely trust you guys as a team to make it right. But what I've been thinking about this whole time is it's been interesting because Tri and tbates have basically been describing my experience as the other sport that I really follow, which is my college basketball team, like I talked about before. Like I agree with them on everything they have to say in terms of not clapping, not cheering for the other team, no matter what, especially if it's our rival team. Like there's no chance under any circumstances they're getting any love from me. But for some reason, when I was in the crowd and when I was at the Rocket League event, it was just different to me. It was like
It is different.
They were just fans of the game a little bit more, and specifically instead of just, it was pretty obvious the whole crowd was like all North America. Like when their North American team got dropped, they went to their next North American team. I think I had a little bit of a different vibe, maybe just because I'm involved in the one scene. I think my team is just like, it's SSG, and then it's like the next team with the most ones players. So that's maybe why I didn't really like relate so much to how North America was just hounding against Queso. But I do know that the vibe of that arena had me and like a couple people sitting next to me kind of like, let's just start cheering for Queso. Queso's like should be getting a little bit more love than this, and especially because they weren't playing the villains in my from my perspective. I think playing against like Turbo is a great example of people who play against and play as the villain. I think playing into that is really fun, and it's definitely part of it. And that person obviously is okay with it. But I feel like we were there. The crowd was like, I don't know. I can't not love the Queso guys. I think is what it comes down to, and they were the ones on the negative side of it. And I'm trying to relate to the fact because I know that if the Queso team was ASU, my rivals, I would not have shown them love at all. So I just think like, major, and the fact that it's not happening all the time, and it's like such a special occasion. I just felt so lucky to be there, like with Rocket League. Just seems a little bit different, and that's pretty much all my thoughts.
That's a really good summary. Chicago, are you still here with us? I think you went AFK at one point. Hello, welcome back.
Yeah.
Any closing thoughts as we finish up stream here?
I know I said like I'd like to shut the crowd up and all that. Like I do not want to be booed. Like, I was just saying it'd be a cool experience, like in my head. I don't know, but like don't boo me or the boys. That wouldn't be very cool.
Oh no! Oh no!
Why are you backing up?
No, because I was having a fantasy in my head when I was talking about that, and
did Safi DM you? Oh, JNAP's
no. JNAP's didn't DM me, but there's a horror story in Montreal that I'm not going to go into. So anytime like we're at a LAN or anything in general, we like have this thing where there's juju where we can't shit talk. So I really don't.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So we don't. So we don't shit talk at all. And because of that, but I just think, I think just keep the. I think it'd be cool if every crowd was different, or like NA crowds were different to EU. To make it more fun, if every crowd's the same, it would just be a little bit boring after a while. But if we have EU, and you know what kind of crowd you're going to compared, and then you go to an NA event and it's a different kind of crowd, I think that'd be very cool. So I would just say make every crowd unique. That's my thing.
North America, and every other crowd's just neutral. It's great. It's perfect.
That makes sense. All right, Stumpy, our frozen friend in the bottom left there. What do you got for us?
No, I've just gone for a style change. This is fully deliberate.
Uh-huh.
I fully agree with what Chicago said about making every crowd unique. I think previously we have attempted to recreate what happened in Season 5, and I don't think that works everywhere because every crowd should have their own identity. Every crowd should feel that they can celebrate the game however they want to. Everything that we have set up here is a preference of what we would personally like to see. So if you do boo the other team, then that is completely on you. That is, if that's how you want to enjoy it, that's how you're going to enjoy it. Like I hold nothing against you for that. I think that in more of a general point, I kind of touched on it earlier. You can disagree with people, and you can shout at people, and you can think the complete opposite way, but so long as you respect somebody else, and so long as you understand what their argument, where it comes from, and why they think the way they do, and you don't hold a minor view against them, especially something as trivial as crowds in the RLCS, then I think you're going to do pretty well with yourself. Just make sure that whenever you go to an event, you respect teams as you would want to be respected if you were up there. Be a nice person to everybody that you see there, because we're all there ultimately to see Rocket League, to have the best RLCS that we possibly can. And yeah, be unique, be weird, be fun, be quiet, be normal, be anything that you fancy being. Just be at RLCS events and say hi if you are there.
Just anything but cringe.
Yeah, don't be cringe. Oh my god, if you're going to be there and be cringe, shut up. I can't deal with that. Ugh.
All right, last but not least, Trihouse.
Okay, all right. Closing thoughts. I'm gonna be passionately for my teams, but I will try to add just like a dash of sportsmanship, and as a fan even, and I will try the stumpy method of clapping through the pain. I'll give that a try. Just to well, it's probably good as a content creator. Like, I don't want people looking at me as I'm just like aggressively booing some 17-year-olds on stage. So maybe it's the better look.
Probably,
in
yeah.
fact, if I throw in some painful claps. But yeah, I think those are my closing thoughts on it.
Oh, that was actually
Be passionate above all, I think.
I think I've actually changed my mind as well. I'm actually going to go and boo everything.
yes, literally
Here
swap.
we go.
Literally
Oh my
swap.
gosh.
No, actually, you guys are giving me credit for my intro. Got to give some props. Can we get some appreciation in chat for all of these closing thoughts? Oh my goodness, what an amazing round of closing statements that was. That was absolute peak content for the boys. But also, thank you to all of you for coming on. This is really interesting. I feel like I've learned a lot about all of you and about the different sports and different cultures and different backgrounds. Yeah, subpar booing, of course. Good. Can we get some boos in chat for our terrible guests on the stream today? As many boos as possible. Yeah, you might have to like use different lengths of boo to get it through. I don't know if we have RNK mode on, but seriously, thank you guys for coming on. I'm gonna let you all go because it's been almost a couple of hours. But yeah, if anything else controversial happens, or there's anything else to talk about in the Rocket League esports scene, I know who to call. You guys are all amazing. But yeah. Appreciate you all coming on here. Everybody give them follows. We also got Chicago in here. You probably already follow Chicago. He's a superstar. So I forgot to put his on the stream at Chicago RL. You guys all have a great rest of your night. I'm going to go and say bye to the stream.
Bye, Johnny. Bye, everybody. Love you lots.
Bye-bye.
Take it easy, guys.
Bye-bye. Appreciate the invite. It was very fun.
Yes, sir. Later, Reed.
Peace.
Peace, guys. All right. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that. That was something a little bit different. I've not done one of these, exactly in this format before. I've done like podcasts on my channel. This was definitely a different one. Hopefully you guys liked it. I'm going to try and turn on my face cam here. I lost the link. Let me see if I can turn it back on. I think I can. There we go. But yeah, hopefully you guys like that. Super interesting. Really interesting. Different types of opinions. I feel like I don't know if you guys were expecting everybody to really disagree on a lot of things, but even in like the disagreements, I feel like there was actually a lot of agreeing and a lot of common ground here. Probably because everybody's just such big fans of Rocket League, more than anything else.